Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Track with Daniel Blair. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be honest, I look forward to these every time. Some people I don't know, and I get to meet them and learn about them. And then sometimes it's people I know very well. That's today. It's Chris Blose. What's up, Blose?
Not much. Just another day here in Phoenix. Got some pretty good weather out right now. It's not blazing hot, so pumped on that.
It's only 105 this morning.
No, it's only like 93, 95, and it's overcast, so it's good.
I don't know how you guys do it, especially in the summer. When I see you ride in the summer, I'm just like, how? But Blose, I got to hit you with the hardest question of this interview right off the top, and then I'll ease it out from there. Are we going to see Chris Blose back in 2022? I'm not asking what your deals are going to be, but are you going to be back?
That's the plan. Yes.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah. You
can't stop. You can't stop, huh?
I'm getting to that point. Unfortunately, obviously I love the sport, and the way I went out in Atlanta with my injury and my crash, it was, I just can't go out that way. I just can't end the season on that note. And I still feel like my speed and all that is really good, and feel like I'm riding the best I ever have at 33. So, man, why not give it one more go? And
hey, if Brayton's still going, Blose is still going. All right. If he can keep going, you can keep going.
Exactly. Yeah. No, he's definitely getting up there in age, and it's like, what, next year is going to be his last year?
Yeah. I think it's official. Like he's one more year.
Yep. I think I'm in that same boat.
So Blose, we got a lot to talk about. We'll do a little bit of everything, old days, semi-old days, current days. But let's take it back to the beginning, and I'll tell you where I first learned of you. You were just the little brother to Michael Blose, who I raced with on 50s. God, I remember racing that like Barona O. I remember Michael all the way through 50s, 60s, 85s. And then you were little brother Chris, never at an age where you and I raced. We never even raced till we were like in the pros later. But that's where I knew of you, was you were Michael's little brother. So take me back to those early days of racing with your pops and the two Blose brothers, dude, racing in SoCal again, whereas where I saw you guys the most because you're in Arizona, but SoCal is where it was at. So take me that time.
Yeah, man, growing up was always racing and going out and practicing and stuff like that. And, I was always Michael's little brother. And, growing up, my brother he was my hero. He was someone who I looked up to, and he was very successful in the amateur ranks and very successful in the pro ranks and stuff. And, growing up as a kid, it's like, man, I always just wanted to be like my brother. People used to always ask me, who do you want to be like, and people's normal answer would be like, McGrath or Emig or Wyndham.
Like, and you're like, no, Michael.
Yeah. And we always did everything together. So, we were always racing, and I, growing up, really didn't take it serious. And I was always hurt, always. And once I kind of got to high school, I got hurt again. And my dad actually made me quit racing for a while. And, after a pretty long time off the bike, because I grew up racing like Mike Alessi, Davey Millsaps, all those guys, Kyle Chisholm. And once I kind of got back on the bike, I just rode for fun. It's all I wanted to do was just ride for fun. And then it kind of slowly progressed into, all right, I'm going pretty fast and I'm doing pretty good and I'm having a lot of fun at this. Let's put in a little work and see where it takes us. And, that's when like the 4-stroke nationals were really big. And I ended up doing those and winning that championship, and kind of just like snowballed into where I am at now.
Yeah. And I kind of remember that progression too. I vividly remember, and I don't know even why, but I think it was the 07 season. You're riding a Yamaha, wearing O'Neill gear, and I don't know if it was a heat race or a main or an LC. I don't know what it was, but there was a race on TV. I think it was one of the Anaheims maybe, where they were on you for like a lap or two. And I was like, yeah, it's Michael's little brother is like all grown up. He's racing Supercross. That's kind of like my first memory of you in the pro ranks. Is that around that period where you're like starting to take it serious? Because you then progressed Like the next couple of years, you got super fast, but that's where I kind of remember you, at least in the pro career, kind of at least coming into frame. If that makes sense.
Yeah. 2006, I raced the Buku Arena Cross back in the day.
Yep.
I did 3 rounds of that, ended up like on the podium with my brother. So that was really cool. And then we went and I did, my first year was 2006 East Coast, because the Arena Cross ran super early in the season. So we did that. And then 2007 is, what you're talking about. I rode for the Wonder Warhog team, the MDK Wonder Warhog team on Yamahas. And that was a good year. It's kind of like my first stepping stone on the West Coast. And it just kind of snowballed effect from there. And 2008, I rode for Fun Center Suzuki. And then 2009, I rode for Troy Lee. And that's kind of where it all kind of took off for me.
I remember the Yamaha year. You became like a consistent main event, good rider.
Yeah.
No like crazy breakout rides, but it was like you had cemented yourself in the base. Like, okay, you're a good Supercross rider. Then I don't remember the Suzuki year for some reason. I don't remember that one as well. But then, of course, in 2009, I do remember because you took a huge leap as far as your speed, your results, everything on that West Coast Championship that year. What do you think was going on at that time? Was it just taking it more serious? I mean, obviously the equipment's better. Was it a combination of both? Because in 2009, you broke, that would be the breakout, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of leading up to that, after 2008 season, I was working for my uncle doing commercial fire sprinklers, and because that's his business. He's got a huge business here in Arizona with that. And got the call from David Pingree saying, hey, like, we're going to do some tryouts and we would like you to come. And man, stepped off the ladder, called my uncle and was like, hey, can I go do this? And went out there. And it was back when Competitive Edge had their Supercross track, and that's where the tryout was. So got the ride and moved to California for a while, and put in the time. And it was a great year, and still wish I could have followed up that year in 2010 on with that team, but some stuff happened, and it is what it is. So
I'm just gonna throw out, you and I raced each other that year just one time.
Yep.
We happened to be in an LCQ together. I was an East, you were a West guy. I'll let you tell the story what happened in the LCQ. I just want to make sure it's on the record. You go ahead and tell what happened.
I don't know. You tell
it.
You
do know. You do know what happened. You do know, because I remind you.
Yeah, whatever. I don't.
Yeah, what? All right, that's all. All right. Yeah, whatever is a good story. We'll just leave it at yeah, whatever.
Supposedly, and I don't remember this LCQ. So it's supposedly, if you're telling the truth, you beat me. But that's just hearsay. So
it's just a rumor. It's just a rumor.
It's just a rumor.
Hey, I don't know. I'll tell you the truth of that night though, because I rode for Geico as a fill-in, and I was like nervous at the showdown because it was like, dude, I have to do good here against the East and the West. Like all my family was here. I have to do good here. And I ended up getting taken out in the heat race by, take a wild guess, Vince Freese, who laid me out in the heat race. So I had to go to the LCQ, and dude, we had Durham, like, God, I don't even remember. Cole Seeley. Our LCQ was stacked, and I don't know about you, but I was sick on the gate. Like, oh my God, if I don't make the main on a factory bike at the shootout. And dude, I was the best I rode all year because I was like panicked. And you and I went 1-2. We checked out and we were totally safe. Yeah. In fact, you were faster, but I think I was roosting the crap out of you down the freeway. And I think you were just like, very good. So
nothing
dude,
that was worse than the roost down those straightaways.
It's the worst, dude. That's why I think you sat like 1 second back, because you were like, I'm going to sit right here where the roost falls at my front tire and not my chest. But dude, I just have to tell you, that was the most in fear I ever was on a starting gate of a moto. And you were probably fine. You're like, oh, I'm good. I'll get in this thing. I was scared to death on the gate for that moto.
Yeah, it's funny about that track. I hated that track so much. I don't know what it was, because I did horrible in the main event. But man, all day I struggled with that track. Don't know why, but
I liked it. I did good in the main and I just had a bad heat because of Vince. Go
figure.
But dude, so all right, just a rumor. But anyways, I got you in that LCQ. Just want to make sure you remembered because I remind you all the time. Anyway, so yeah, good year for you there. The one thing that's always stood out to me about you is not even the willingness, but the want to race as much as possible. And this goes back a long time, but always racing the 450 when you can, double classing, racing arena cross when they come through. Dude, you're just a racer, and you're still racing now. I mean, where does that come from now? From someone who was a kid who didn't treat it that serious and took breaks. Why are you such a racer now who wants to always be on the bike at the races no matter what?
It's probably from the fact that my dad made me quit racing. You know, I had
So
that
like
break.
rebellion. You're like, oh yeah, watch this.
Yeah, no, not quite that. But it was more like, man, when I was quitting racing, a lot of people, they were getting hammered at the track, you know, not hammered like drunk, but they were hammering the track and putting in their time. And, you know, I really didn't get burnt out at all. So when I turned 15 or so or 16, it was full gas. I was ready to go. I had my break, you know, I was ready to go racing and do whatever it took. So, but you know what? No, I just like racing, and I love competing. I'm very competitive with anything and everything, whether it's basketball or golfing or riding dirt bikes. And I know my capabilities. So I think that's the biggest part is I know I'd be where I belong. And I feel like if I'm not up there, then I push myself to the extreme to get where I'm at, where I want to go.
You think that, so that's kind of a late bloomer type thing again, instead of doing a lot of that and burning out young, you didn't really get started on the serious side until later. So you feel like that's probably why you have this length. I imagine Brayton's got to feel the same. I mean, he's still competitive, but he wasn't like wearing himself out as a kid and a teenager. It came later. Is that why you think you have this, I guess, extension in your career and why you still are motivated?
Maybe. You know, I can't exactly pinpoint exactly why. But I've always thought that, you know, like, is it because my dad made me quit racing because I was always hurt and he told me that, you know, my brain needs to catch up with my throttle hand and, which I'm so thankful he did because like I said, I was always hurt as a kid. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, look at Brayton. He's, how old's he now? 36, 37?
7 maybe, I think.
It's like 48 years old now. You know, and he's still, you know, this year he got a podium. It's like, man.
Got a podium, man.
That's insane. And, you know, I know he's having a lot of fun doing this and so am I. And I guess you can't, when you're having fun doing something you love, it's hard to step away from.
What about for you? And I want to go back to a couple of things in the timeline of your career, but the family side has changed now. Married, kid on the way. Congratulations on that, by the way. Is there, because sometimes that family side comes in and it makes you like want to be done. But then sometimes for some people, that actually becomes a motivator. Is that how it's working for you? Are you looking at your family going, like, I'm motivated to still perform and kind of send a message to my family, like how hard I work and I want to succeed? Are they a motivating factor for you now? Because it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, like you said, it always doesn't work that way. And, you know, I have a 2-year-old who just turned 2 and I have one that will be here within the month. And it's crazy how life's changed. I got married about, you know, over 5 years ago. And, you know, I have a house, I have a great life. It's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, man, you got these kids. And this is also a point in my racing that I cherish more now than I ever have is, man, you kind of have to set example for these little kids. And, you know, if they can learn something from you, even if it's just a little bit, that's everything. And I got a 2-year-old who literally mimics me all the time. And, you know, it's like, you have such an impact on these little kids. It's you got to set a good example. And whether that's my kid or another kid who's at the races in line wanting autographs or to check out a bike or something like that, you got to set a good example and try to point them in the right direction. And so, you know, like you said, it's motivating. I see both sides to it, where it's like, man, I don't want to get hurt. I got to provide for my family, but at the same time, it's like, this is motivating. So yeah, I do see both sides to it. And man, for me, it's pretty hard to kind of juggle the two.
Find that balance, find that fine line.
Find that fine line, like you said. And man, do I hang it out and risk life and limb to get this one other guy, who is a young amateur coming up, who's willing to hang it out and, has no regard of risk. And I've been there and I've done that and I know better. So it's definitely a fine line, like you said. So to juggle that, it can get pretty hard, especially during the race.
We'll get back to family. I got a couple more family questions, but let's talk again in the timeline. Another part of your career that stands out to me is the Arena Cross chapter. And the main reason why is because this is as I was transitioning into the broadcasting side of things as the analyst for Arena Cross. That's when you kind of came back into Arena Cross. So I got to cover you in that whole chapter. What was that like? For me, on my side, I can tell you it was fun to watch because all of a sudden there was this crazy influx of talent into Arena Cross all at the same time. I mean, you and Gerke, Regal. I mean, just go down the list of guys who all of a sudden landed here. Dude, you made it entertaining for me, but I have to imagine for you, that was a wild time because it was loose in Arena Cross all those years. You guys were nutty.
Yeah, it got to be really crazy, especially like you said, there was so much talent in there with me, Hayes, Regal, Gerke, Gavin Faith,
Bobby K, dude.
Bobby K, who is just
he made it fun. He is. Yeah. He was Bobby in there.
And all these people, before it was kind of like Tyler Bowers and Zach Ames, and yeah. And then like all these riders came in and it made it fun. It made it very competitive. And man, it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I could go on and on about Arena Cross. It was a fun time. It was a great chapter in my life. I definitely learned a lot from Arena Cross, especially the 4 years that I was there. And no, it was a great time. And I remember like we'd always smoke you in practice times. You'd always say that you were gonna beat us because you had a fresh set of whoops, and
yeah,
we made bets and all that. And
yeah, but I had a legal bike that year. The year before when I was running a cheater bike, I'd have worked you in practice times, but
yeah.
That's whatever. One thing about Arena Cross, this is, I think everybody that ever goes through it will say, is you learn how to ride the whoop section. You've always been good at whoops, but you've gone from good to great in them. You're pretty damn incredible in whoops, to be honest. Did Arena Cross help with that? I mean, because you were already good when you got there, but I feel like when you spend years in Arena Cross, you learn how to be like sensational through the whoops. And then when you came back to Supercross, it was like, dude, I remember Seattle 2 years ago, I think it was. There was like 100 whoops. There was 100 whoops, and I remember seeing those, and I'm like, Blose is gonna eat these things up like it's a bowl of cereal, and you did. But does Arena Cross contribute to that? Because you've got to learn whoops in Arena Cross, dude, and you've always had them figured out, but you got pretty gnarly in them.
Yeah, I always enjoyed whoops, at least when they were like nice and not all messed up, because nobody likes when they're all nasty. But as you know, like Arena Cross whoops were way bigger than Supercross whoops, and you had no run into them. You came out of usually a flat turn, sweeping turn, and you had to commit. It taught you everything about commitment and having good technique and learning how to ride whoops. If you could ride whoops, you would do pretty well in Arena Cross. So when I came back to Supercross, man, it was like
a section that didn't matter anymore to you, right? Like instead of looking at the whip, you were like, oh, I'm just going to chew these things up. It was like, these are nothing.
Yeah. So when I came back to Supercross, and they weren't as scary anymore. And it definitely taught me a lot. And man, don't get me wrong, I've had my fair share of crashes and whoops, and I've learned the hard way, but yeah, no, it was great. I still enjoy whoops these days, especially if you're first heat, first lap. Nothing better.
It's a good
Nothing
feeling
better.
too. Nothing better than a fresh set of whoops in heat one, huh?
Yeah, nothing better.
I know, again, skipping around the storyline, but take me through Seattle that day. Like, I remember walking the track and I'm like, oh man, Blose is going to just kill these things. And dude, was there like 18 or 19 of them? And I think they went a little uphill at the end, right? Did it kind of like a little bit of a dragons back the last 3 or 4?
Yeah. It was a really kind of weird whoop section. The track was completely different than normal because Seattle's known for being either muddy or super soft. And it was a hard packed Seattle Supercross track.
The base was hard that year.
Yeah. And it was the longest whoop section. They kind of went uphill at the end, the last 3 or 4. And because of the way the start was, they had a little berm there. But man, I would crush those things. It was like every lap, so many people, like every lap you come around, someone was at least down in the whoops. And no, that was actually probably one of my best rides that season too. And I think I qualified 3rd or something in practice.
Yeah.
I think I got 2nd or 3rd in my heat race, was leading for a while. And in the main event, I went down off the start and worked my way back up to 5th. So no, that was a good track, good set of whoops that really separated people.
You had a little bit of a run there at that time, because I remember Houston that year too. You were really, really good in Houston, I think. And then is that the one Ferrandis took you out?
Yep.
It was Triple Crown, right? I think it was. Yeah, I just remember there was like a block where you had really and you must have figured out the bike, figured out yourself, because you got really hot there. And I remember that night at Houston Triple Crown, I'm thinking, dude, we might have a Blose podium. And Ferrandis, man.
Yeah, I ruined it.
He did. He put you down for the finish line. But I mean, take me back to that time. Like, what was it that you had found? Because you were riding good all year, but you tapped into something there for a couple of weeks. And what combination of things kind of helped you get there? Because I remember, dude, watching it. That to me was the best thing I've ever seen you, was that block of time.
Yeah, no, that was like you said, that was probably the best I've ever felt. And stupid people calling me. No, that was, like you said, that was the best. That block of time was, I had felt good up until then, but man, I really felt like I was on another level at that point. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it was that got me to that confidence level and that how I was riding, but I don't know if it was the combination of riding 450 on the East Coast, dealing with the heavier bike, staying riding and stuff like that. I had actually switched up. Instead of riding Supercross, I'd go out and ride outdoors. And I have the desert like not too far from here. We have some gnarly tracks. So I would go out, ride out in the desert. And before then, I hadn't touched a Supercross track during the week for probably 2 or 3 weeks, besides on the weekends. So I don't know if that had to do something with it, or if it was just that whoop section at Seattle that just instantly boosted my confidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Houston, the Triple Crown that you were talking about, again, I was fast in practice. I think I was in the top 5. And I had 2, I believe, first turn crashes. But the one that I didn't, I was leading. And then that's the one when Dylan rode me to the bales. But no, there's definitely, and my mentality totally switched when I felt like I belonged up there. And I was like, okay, my practice times are good. Let's have a good heat race, and then had a good heat race. And it's like, okay, now I actually believe I belong on the podium. And just the mentality that completely switched, it was pretty crazy. Kind of just reminded me back when I was in arena cross, where it's like, man, if you need to win, like you have to win. Right. You kind of just have that mentality and you'll do like whatever it takes to win. And that's how it kind of was in Supercross when I hit that like switch.
Talk about that a little bit, because I know a lot of people that are listening or study the sport, we all know it's a mental game, right? We all know that. But as soon as you believe, I always feel like you believe that you could be up front, but as soon as you believe that you should, it's like almost like something switches in your brain, right? There's like a new expectation. In arena cross, you're there to win. You weren't there to get top fives. You were there to win. So you approached everything with, I am going to win. Supercross, it's kind of like the pecking order sets in. You're like, oh, I think I could be a top five guy. But as soon as you believe you should, doesn't there like a switch go off in your head where all of a sudden the expectation changes and you just elevate? It's like you get out of your own way. It is the weirdest thing when you go from believing you could to believing you should.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely hit the nail on the head there. It was, like I said, it was crazy. The moment I realized that, man, you should be top five. You should be on the podium. Like, and it was nothing I did with the bike. It was the same bike setup that I had from Anaheim 1 to that day. And the switch was instant. And everything completely changed. My riding changed. My aggression changed. My way of thinking changed. And once you kind of hit that point, it's like, and you have that feeling like, hey, I can be on the podium. I can be a consistent top five. I can fight up front for a while. And each time you do that, your confidence just grows and grows. But yeah, it's crazy. A lot of people don't know what it feels like until you actually do it. And that's the crazy part. Because you can hear it all the time.
Yeah.
You can hear it all the time about how, people just hit this mental switch and boom, next thing you know that they feel like they shouldn't be worse than third place.
Weird. It is a weird, I mean, your perspective just changes the day. And I truly do believe it's a switch. I don't really think it comes on slowly. It's like all of a sudden you just think different about yourself and everybody else around you. It's hard to get there, but once you get there, it's powerful. Back to the racing side with you always being a racer. I feel like this has come back because when I was racing, a lot of people would do both coasts, both classes. I mean, it was just like, how much can we race? And for me, it was always money related. It's like, I want to make more money. I'll ride both classes. I'll ride the East. I'll ride whatever. I feel like that went away for a while, but I'll give you part of the credit in this. This has come back. Like people are now like parking their bike on the West Coast, getting a 450 and going East or vice versa. You've been doing that for a long time. And I'll give you credit for kind of that change because it seems like it's back on now. People are into that. What was the motivating reason for that when you would do that, the last few years? Was it racing just to sharpen the race skills? Was it financial because you can make more money on the 450? Was it just, again, you being a racer, you're like, why would I be home when I can actually be here? Like what was the main motivating factor for you to park the 250, go get the 450, and then go right after those guys too, and never allow yourself to take a break?
I think it's kind of all the above for me, at least. To stay racing, to stay sharp on the bike. And I mean, you can practice all you want, but nothing replaces racing. And so staying racing was super, super important to me. And obviously financially, you make more money on the 450. So that was always a plus. So there was a little bit of both. And I would just have someone haul my bikes and my parts, or I put in like a tote and a couple other little things like race gas and stuff like that. And then once I would fly in, I would just rent a car and pit out of my rental car. And, I've had some of my best finishes, top 10 finishes out of a rental car. So and honestly, when I did that, it was probably the most fun I ever had. Yeah, logistically, it was kind of a nightmare and stuff like that. But man, it kind of just brought you back to the roots of racing and why you did it. And man, I had some of my best finishes and the best times just pitting out of a rental car and winging it.
Dude, I made a 450 main out of my S10, 09 maybe. And I thought it was so cool because I'm like, I'm in an S10. There's all these 450 factory dudes in the semi. And I thought I was cool. And here's Chris Blose with like a Kia, I don't know what car, what cheap Priceline car
one.
you got, the smallest, cheapest car. And here's Chris Blose getting top tens out of a freaking Kia. Like,
Yep.
dude, I mean, again, the feeling in the day is probably inconvenient, but kind of cool. But when you're flying home, are you like, dude, I was in a rental car and I was just in a 450 main crushing it. Like, did it sink in later or even during when like you're putting gas in the bike before the main? You're like, man, I got to go get my goggles. They're in the back seat of the Kia. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was, it would set in like kind of throughout the whole day and especially after the main event. But if I did good, it was definitely hit harder. But, man, I had it all set up and organized and, you know, where the food would go in the car and where all the goggles would go in the car and the toolbox and the tables and, you know, kind of all that stuff. I had it all figured out. So, you know, it just really sucked, especially when we got to the back east rounds and it was really cold. You know, you were stuck. You know, you'd either turn the car on, throw the heater on, and just sit there and wait it out. But no, it was a lot of fun. And I still look back and people send me photos and tag me and stuff all the time if I'm out of a rental car, a photo of it, and just bring back, you know, such great memories.
Cracks me up too, because obviously the perks are good, right? When you have a semi and you have everything, I mean, it's so convenient, but it does show that you don't need all that, because when the gate drops, it's you and your bike. And if your bike's good and you're good, all that stuff can be inconvenient until the gate drops. And then you're kind of just you again, right? So it's like, yeah, that sucks. But when I'm out there, I'm out there. And all those perks don't matter as much once you're actually on the track. And I think you proved that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the rig and the team and the personnel and seeing everything, you know, people who film for you. I mean, that kind of all goes out the window. And when you have, you know, the rental car or the privateer setup, the true privateer setup, I should say.
Not factory privateer.
Yeah. And, you know, the 450 class, you don't need a whole lot to be super competitive. The bikes are already super fast. It's not like the 250 class. So, yeah, it's just you and your bike once the gate drops and you just got to make it happen. You know, you can practice all you want and do all that, but when the times come, are you going to actually put it in the main event, or are you going to go home and empty-handed
and drive back in the rental car back to the airport and fly home with nothing? That's your other option.
Yeah.
Moving forward, you're still motivated. You love racing, but are you chasing anything specific results wise? Again, I've had people say, why doesn't Blose just ride a 450 all year? He's top 15 guy all year. But I know you always go back to that 250 class because I think you're motivated to be more near the front and be, again, chasing podiums and not just chasing mains. Is that why you still ride the 250 class still? And then moving forward, is there some goals in place, a finish you want to get, an overall? I mean, just kind of take me through your goals and why you do what you do, because you could be a 450 guy full time, but you seems to me like you're still chasing podiums, and obviously that's going to happen on a 250.
Yeah, obviously, I rode the 450 class for a long time, from 2010 to 2014. So I had all those years and racing the 450 class, and I've had some of my best finishes in the 450 class. Like Vegas in 2011, I got fourth place.
Was that the X Games year? Was that the X Games year too, when you got same year, or then was it the next year?
No, that was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, man, I could go to the 450 class and make good money and go that route. But it kind of backs up to 2009 when I rode for Troy Lee. We kind of ended on a bad note. I was supposed to re-sign with them. That was back when David Pingree was the team manager, and he wanted me back. We did the US Open that year and did pretty good and had some good qualifying times in there. And it kind of came down to the higher ups at Troy Lee with the race team. they just didn't believe I was a podium guy, and we kind of just went our separate ways. And so it kind of goes back to that, because I felt like I had unfinished business in the 250 class, and that's kind of why I'm staying on the little bike. And because I feel, man, I can get on the podium, and just feel like I said, I have unfinished business in that class, and that's kind of what's keeping me going. And obviously I want to do good and provide for my family as well. So yeah, I mean, maybe we'll do some 450s this year or next year on the opposite coast and stay riding that way. But for the meantime, just 250s is my main focus.
Unfinished business. Does it get a little squirrely out there though, dude? Because these young pups, man,
Yeah,
they're loose. And you are a veteran. You're a KG veteran. So like most of your decision making is strategic. I don't feel like a lot of their decision making is strategic. So is it get a little nutty out there sometimes with the kids?
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy part is, I mean, you got to think, like, look at Jet Lawrence. He's 18 years old. I'm 33. I'm almost double his age, almost. So it's like, man, I'm racing kids that are half my age that have zero fear, and you could definitely tell when they ride. And I've been there, I've done that. I've learned my lesson with the consequences riding that way. And I just don't get up like I used to. So yeah, I got to take a more like little strategic, thought process on it all. So,
right.
And I've always kind of been that way. Like I've always been a thinker on the track, and sometimes I wish I was the opposite, where I would just not think and just go. But it's not. I can't shake it. It's just who I am. And yeah, no, those little kids are fearless.
I talked to Kyle Peters about that. He this last year, that West division, which I know is confusing because of the sides, but yeah, he was just like, man, those first few laps, man, can I get through the first few laps? These dudes don't care. And he said the same thing as you. He's like, I care too much about like my awareness and my situation, and they don't. And he's like, if I can get through the first few laps, I feel like I can then go to work. But man, those first like 3 or 4 laps, the kids go for it. And I'd imagine for you, it's the same thing. It's like, hey boys, let's get into this thing and let's go to battle. But you all need to calm down in the beginning. And it's wild, dude. I mean, it's like arena cross all over again, right? Because no one really cared in arena cross either. It was just it was loose.
Nobody cared. And that's the hard. I mean, I think I learned a little bit, obviously, from arena cross, where, man, from the gate drop to the checkered flag, it's all out, balls out, 100%. So coming back to Supercross, I brought a little bit that with me. So yeah, those first few laps, man, those kids are relentless. They're like wide open, not a care in the world. And to where for me, it's hard to get to that level and that mentality. But sometimes I can get there, and sometimes I can hang it out for the first few laps. And coming from arena cross, man, you had to do that. Yeah. So transitioning was a little bit easier when I came back to Supercross. And yeah, we'll see how next year goes as well.
It'll be good. Last question on the riding side, then I have a family question for you. Is next year done? Can you announce anything? If not, no biggie, but is it locked in yet? Anything?
No, I'll be honest, nothing's locked in yet. I haven't signed any contracts. Talking with the AJE Motorsports team, it's looking like I'll be back there for 2022. But like I said, nothing's set in stone, nothing signed. So officially, yeah, I guess you would say
but you got a good idea. I mean, you at least have an idea of what's of a likely outcome, I'd say.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So last question for you. Family life, dude, you're married, got a 2-year-old, got another one coming any day. What's it like, dude, for you? Like, and then again, is moto in the future? And I know that's hard to answer now because I couldn't have answered it back then, but now my kid's 11 and racing full time. I mean, dude, he raced Saturday night and Sunday. It's like it's crazy. So you can't predict it yet, but you take me through dad life and then just tease us with what do you think is going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years with the kids racing?
Oh God. You know, my youngest, or I should say my oldest now, my firstborn, he's 2 years old now, and man, he just loves riding his bike. We have a little Z50 that are restored, and
a Z?
Yeah,
like
the
old like the big fat front tire Z.
Yeah, the dual shocks in the back, the white ones.
Aluminum tank, the big old tank.
Yeah, we got one of those. I redid it, had it all repowder coated, and anyways, went through it all because I figured eventually he's gonna want to ride it. And so we go on rides on it all the time, and he just always wants to ride it. So yeah, I would imagine if he wants to race, great. If he doesn't, great. But it's looking that way for him. So he just always wants to ride his little balance bike, and yeah, he's a little nut on it already. So he hasn't figured out the Stasic yet. A little bit on the Stasic. He'd rather push it around.
That's fine. He'll have one day where his legs are a little tired. He'll be like, all right, I'm gonna turn the throttle.
Yeah. So, and he does it every now and then. But man, it's fun to watch him grow up and watch him learn new things. And you know, you always hear parents, when you're not a parent, go, oh man, it's the craziest thing. It's so awesome to watch, and you really don't know it till you experience it firsthand. So yeah, it's I'm sure some type of moto life is going to be in my future with him or the new one coming. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, it sounds all innocent. And yeah, you just ride, have fun. And then the next thing you know, your kid will be 11 like mine, and he'll have a bad moto. And I come off the track fuming. And before I even get to the pit, he's like, Dad, I already know what I did. I don't need to hear it. I got it. Like, that's what happened this weekend. He literally, like, I'm walking up with the look of like, and he was like, Dad, I already know. I got it. It's fine. Like, he didn't want to hear one word. So just know, like, it'll go from cute little guy having a fun time. Look how cute to, Dad, I got it. Okay, chill. Like, I don't need you to yell at me again.
I don't need to hear that. Yeah.
I don't need to hear it again, Dad.
No, yeah, it's going to be, it should be interesting to see where it takes us. And my wife is super competitive. And man, if I have a bad race, I mean, she's brutal, but she's hard on me.
I've seen it. I've seen bad Chris performances before. They don't go over well in the Blose home. They don't.
No, because she knows my ability and what I'm capable of. So if I have a bad race, it's like, what the hell was that? You know, it's and
so it's gonna be one of those things.
I feel sorry for Bowie.
I was gonna say it's gonna be one of those things when they're gonna be like, "Hey, have you heard of Tony Alessi?" It's to be like, "Dude, how about Brittany Blose?" She's like, "Hold my beer." Is it gonna be that gnarly?
I don't know if it'll be that gnarly, but the Tony Alessi stories are pretty good. So
they're the best. I love it. And he's not afraid. He don't even run from them anymore. He loves them. And then a second one on the way. Last question, bro. What are you doing? 2021, dude. We're living in crazy times, and you're like, nah, let's have another one. Let's bring another one into the world.
Yeah, no, we figured can't just have one. You know, little Bowie's got to have a brother, so or sister, but it's going to be a brother. So yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. I don't know. I'm already stressed out on what I'm going to do because yeah. I mean, my one kid's already enough to handle. So it's like, man, we're going to bring a newborn into this world. Like, what were we thinking? Like, why did we do this? But at the same time, we're super excited, and yeah, it's crazy world, crazy times. But hey, let's bring another person into this world.
All right. Well, congratulations again on that, and congratulations on all the success you've had to this point. And I love the fact that you ain't done. We need Chris Blose out there. So thanks for coming on the show, and I'm stoked to see you at Anaheim on a 250 or a 450 or both or three. I don't know. You'll be on something, and I'll probably see you every race next year. I almost guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on. I had a great time, and we'll see you guys here soon.